Oh, you missed my initial laugh. Good morning.
Oh, there's Tim too. Yeah, so I should give over all rights and privileges to you now.
Okay.
From Pastor Bandito.
Pastor Bandito. I love it.
What do you think about starting a new cowboy church service?
Ooh.
What do you think?
I could see some people liking it.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to have many requirements though? You know,
maybe the hat. You might need to wear a hat.
Might need to wear a hat.
Some
Maybe
kind
we should
of
start having theme Sundays.
Yeah, I like that. All right, let me do this quick. Make host.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Tim. Looks like he's still working on coming in.
Fired up.
So what, you guys thought it was going to be a little too chilly out there today? Or
well, I mean, yeah, both chilly and we had no idea when the snow would come.
Good morning, Tim.
Hi, Tim. Yeah, I think it's just, I mean, it's so hard to plan stuff right now.
It was probably a wise choice. We don't want any of our, ministers losing fingers or toes or things like that.
Yeah, and we haven't quite adapted that service to be even fast enough so people don't have to run their cars the whole time, which we also don't want. So
right.
Just, yeah, I think that I think that threshold of I think it's 40, but it looks like it's gonna be 50 this week. It'll be 50 next Sunday.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we're hoping
Hopefully.
yeah. I mean, this did play it. I mean, it's definitely it's played a little different than we had expected, but for the most part, we had planned on it being inclement and cold.
Well, you'd probably be laughing because last night I'm still trying to cover part of my lettuce bed.
Wow, that's impressive. I love it.
We'll see. And I have
if it doesn't wither.
Some broccoli that I'm like, maybe
how many cuttings of that have you gotten?
Well, I planted it really late.
Okay.
So this was one of these, maybe I could try and so I just put some in, and then if October would have been a normal October, I think I would have gotten something by now. But with it not. I think that zap, hopefully, I mean, it definitely got really cold, but maybe it'll get through. So we'll see.
Broccoli is pretty resilient.
Yes.
I'm told anyway.
Yes, and
brassicas.
And I 2 of my Brussels sprout plants, the sprouts were really not as large as I would have liked them.
Oh,
so
really?
I thought I'll have to go back and look and see when we actually planted those, because they were not an initial thought.
Okay.
So
those do pretty well though in the cold.
Yeah. So I did put a little covering over them last night because I had read something about that they can handle almost down to 20. So we'll see.
We're definitely there.
We'll experiment.
Was it 18 last night?
I don't know. That's what they were forecasting.
Yeah.
So
how are you doing, Tim?
You're muted, Tim.
Yeah. Hit that little microphone.
Good.
There you go. Oh,
there we go.
I think it went. Oh. I think it went out again. There you go.
There we go.
Here we go.
Nice.
Good. So broccoli is resilient. That's good to know.
Yes.
I think both in plant and in consumption.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
well, Tim, I should let you know that there were many people who weren't able to attend that watched.
Okay.
Nice.
as well.
Yep.
Yes. So, and I had some people say that they were going to tell their families
Oh,
to
okay.
come on.
Tell
So,
their families. That's like evangelical even.
I know.
We're getting the E in the ELCA here. Yeah.
So, this is
Okay.
great that you were able to come back. I know you had mentioned it originally, and I didn't think I could adjust the schedule, so I'm really happy it all worked out.
Yeah, I am too. This is going to be fun. I talked with Deb Oss last night for a while, and she said she sent me the questions. I saw the questions that she sent, but
Yes. I especially thought the second one, which she said was a little bit of devil's advocate about Lutheran. That would be good, because I'm sure there are some people that are trying to figure out how that all fits.
Yep. She said, yeah, I mostly sent that just to be a pain in the butt, she said. And I told her, you're doing a wonderful job.
She's little, but she's feisty.
She is. Don't mess with her. Yeah.
Oh gosh. So did you have a nice week?
I did. Couple of days with our little 3-month-old granddaughter.
Oh, nice.
And that was wonderful. And yeah, it was good. Well, these days I'm doing a lot of taking care of myself.
Yes, I am too.
Which is good. Yeah. Good.
I had a Zoom meeting with family this week, and it was really nice to see everyone's faces. And then as soon as we got off, I was like, oh, I miss everyone so much. I'm like, I don't know. It was almost like the meeting just triggered it more,
Yeah.
and partly because my niece is getting confirmed down in Texas today, and we couldn't be there for it. And, and that's normally it would be a big family to do. And, so couldn't be there. And so that was very sad.
Did they stream it, or what was their?
They're going to be streaming it, and it'll be available. So it's a small Lutheran church. There's like 3 kids in confirmation.
Aww.
My niece's faith statement, though, they've done those already. And wow, nice. I was like, I should send you the link, because I was like, okay.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. We're doing interviews this next week, I think.
They have to stand up in front of the congregation.
They do. Yeah.
Individually, and there's not a lot of them, but
there's been a lot of nightmares from that experience over the years. That's why we don't do it.
I was so
a lot of therapy to be done after having to do that when you're a teenager.
And this is one of my 2 nieces that's adopted. They were adopted as older children. Yep. And so they've been with the family for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And but just some of the phrasing she used, like, don't be disrespecting the Lord.
Don't be disrespecting the Lord.
She's, don't be disrespecting by not loving others, by judging people by their skin color. And I mean, I'm like, wow, she's,
Don't be disrespecting.
But just that phrase, don't be disrespecting.
Yeah, I like that. Don't be disrespecting.
And things. So it was very impressive. I was like, there are many adults that would have had a hard time coming out with. She mentioned, just, God is love, and, and that, and she talked about racism, and she talked about, LGBTQ, and I'm thinking,
Good.
wow,
Good.
that takes a lot of courage.
Good.
And pretty well rounded.
Yeah, she covered so many bases. It was rather remarkable.
That's awesome. I used to love doing those interviews, and some of the face statements were amazing. Yeah, I just go, wow.
Well, sometimes we could learn. Well, most of the time, we could learn from them.
Oh, I agree.
Always made me think we should have this reversed. You should be teaching us.
I agree.
Especially when you provide an environment where they can feel comfortable and asking the questions and not necessarily feeling like they have to have a definitive answer.
Yep.
I think that that becomes real key.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up in the era of memorization and regurgitation.
I did too.
In front of the congregation, you know, and it was just like, I felt so sorry for some of my classmates because they couldn't memorize stuff well. And
talk about therapy. Yeah.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
Fortunately, our pastor was pretty good at calling on people that had a hard time with things, letting them answer questions that he knew that they'd be able to manage.
Yeah.
So, but we had a class of 40 kids. So it was big.
Yeah, you know, the one I always admired the most, almost every year there was one that said, I'm not going to be confirmed. I'm not ready for this. I don't want it right now.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to kiss her or his feet. I was just in awe of their courage and their honesty and taking it that seriously. And the mother always felt like a failure.
Yeah.
I said, no, you've raised a daughter or a son who has the courage to be their authentic self, their true self, and to be honest and ask the hard questions. And this is wonderful. And maybe it'll happen down the road, but this is good.
Yeah.
And the mom would go, what?
You need to there needs to be kind of another kind of party for those affirmations as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I sometimes think that calling it a confirmation, I mean, I understand the terms as far as confirming your baptismal, but have
it's super confusing.
And something different, something that
you mean graduation is what we've essentially called it in the church.
What I've learned or what I believe today.
Yeah.
What I believe this minute, because 5 minutes from now it could be different.
Yeah. Take away the gowns, I think would help. It would lose that graduation feeling.
Well, that's true, actually. Even just wearing a stole, I think, without a gown would be, because that's something they create.
There you go.
We definitely didn't do gowns this year.
No,
that was more because of the pandemic than anything. They still
maybe it'd be a way to, you know what, it worked out just fine without it.
And we had already planned to do, in years past, we've always had the ninth graders sit up front, and have them kind of all on display. Yeah. And this year we were there, it was going to be during worship, like in a regular service, just like baptisms, when in the past it's always been another separate service too, separate graduation service. We didn't get to do that, but we'll probably still make those changes.
Well, and you did videos of some of the kids.
Yeah.
And that might be easier.
Yeah.
We got to hear from a lot more people on stewardship
Oh, totally.
By having those video clips.
Yeah, I agree.
That might be an easier thing for them to do.
Yeah.
And we could hear from more of them rather than just a few.
I agree. Yeah.
Take the pressure off, let them, say what they feel is most important and for them at that time. And
I like that.
Yeah, well, we got this figured out now.
Okay, so
check that. Where's my list? Yep.
So Tim, have you done other Aramaic? Like, have you done the Aramaic Beatitudes, for example? That's one that comes to mind, or anything like that?
I was going to mention that to you if you're interested in anything in the future. Yeah, the Aramaic Beatitudes are fascinating. It brings a whole different meaning to it. I mean, it almost they almost make sense.
We've got that's coming up here. We're supposed to do that's actually this Sunday. We're going to do the Beatitudes. We're going back to the Beatitudes for All Saints.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, that's
good.
To
yeah,
me
we should do that.
It's something that I've been thinking about when we have our February March is not laid out well at all yet, but we've got different things that we've kind of been doing this theme of I was wondering, questions on faith, God, and the Bible.
Yeah,
and
there's two things we could do: the Beatitudes and just go through some key statements of Jesus that are often misused and misinterpreted.
Mm-hmm.
The Aramaic has a different slant on them that I think would be important to go through. John 14:6 is one that's often misused. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me. It's been used as an exclusive kind of verse. And in Aramaic, it's just the opposite. So
I almost forgot my cowboy hat.
You should come to the trunk or treat today. I do gotta. I'm gonna probably bounce off here just in a minute to go help out. But good to see you all. Thanks again, Tim, for being here and for, I think, really helpfully exploring both the Lord's Prayer and maybe some other stuff down the line.
Yeah, we can chat some more on that because this.
Good.
I think you've sparked a desire in the community here to we've got a pretty strong contingent that likes to learn the latest.
Okay.
Don't we, John?
Well, yeah, I got an advertisement that was sent by Tim saying, if you want to learn how to speak Aramaic, just sign here, which I did. And then they billed me for $299. But I guess it'll be worth it, right, Pastor Tim?
Oh, no.
Maybe are you going to reimburse me?
Yeah, I'll cover half of that for you.
Once I prove that I'm fluent.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if you just replied to John via email or if you actually chatted with him, but he can be a bit of a troublemaker. So, which is why I love having him here.
Yeah, so far I've kept it to email for that reason. Yeah.
Good morning, Christine and Sharon and Christy and Lene, and let's see, who else do we have?
Morning.
Good morning. Oh, so good to see everyone. Lene, I have not forgotten about your message. I just haven't got my act together, but I will soon.
Yeah, Sharon, listen, I'm John's twin brother and I'm new to the church, so I'm hoping you'll send me a new member packet soon.
Well, if you're desperate and Chris okays it, I'll drive one to you if you live close by.
Well, I'm close. I'm in Marine. That's not.
Well, I don't go that far. Sorry. I'm a small town girl. I stick in my small town.
Okay, and I see someone here labeled Jeff without a picture. Is that your Jeff, Christy? Oh, you guys aren't speaking again?
Correct.
All right, and then we have Pat and John. I'm assuming they're both going to be there. Welcome, welcome. So Christine, is your mom with you today?
Yeah, my mom and my husband and my daughter were all here. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, we've got a house full.
Awesome. How are you guys doing?
Good. All
Good.
things considered, winter has begun. That's not so exciting, but
Yeah, but fall's going to come back later this week. So
is it? Oh, thank you, because I've given up on watching the weather now. I'm just dealing.
Now, is there an extra fee if you have 3 people watching?
Oh, yeah. Isn't that called pirating? Yeah, we're pirating this.
Not sure why we're not showing up here.
um
Last time I did, now I can't.
no, there's
If you
you've
tap
got your
the-
camera.
There we go, got
There
it.
you go. Oh, good.
Hi,
Good
Pat,
job.
John.
Good to see you guys. Hey, John Reinke, I
Yes.
just want you to know that for communion, I use graham crackers.
Sounds perfect to me.
I have to
We
tell
have
you
this
that
little-
one time Judd and Angie used cookies. I had baked them.
That's about right. We
That's
was
very
never-
holy. That's
Yeah.
holy, if you ask me.
Well, it was a holy gift.
That's
Well,
right.
there was one day too where my dog was on my lap. She's a golden retriever, so just picture. And she looked at me, and so I was like, okay, so I had communion with my dog. She did not get the
Wonderful.
wine. She only got the graham cracker. Welcome back, Deb and Joanne. Nice to see everyone. I'm gonna give us just a few more minutes here for some other people.
Okay.
I know no one's coming in from the drive-in, or hopefully no one went out there.
Well, I
to
hope
discover
nobody
that-
went. We should be back next
dis-
week, though.
That's right.
Oh, good. Good deal.
Does everyone have the handout from last time?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good.
I've still got mine.
I know, and it was one of these things where without the drive-in, we could have done sooner, but it was a little late to switch things. So I appreciate you folks, taking a leisure morning and not trying to jump into what you think you need to get done today. We're extending your Sabbath.
Ah,
Since there's no extra fee for a second person, I'm going to ask my wife to join me now.
Well, I would hope she would be allowed to join you, John. Is she looking for her hat? For those of you who came in a little bit later, Pastor Peter had on a black cowboy hat and a black mask.
Oh,
So then
wow.
John had to go and get his hat. But Pastor Peter is out doing trunk or treat right now. So
Retreat. Boy, I didn't realize it was today, actually.
I had kind of forgotten. I think they were going to actually do it at the drive-in was the original plan,
Yeah. it
Wow.
was.
right? Good morning, Rita.
Good morning.
Turn that off. Not that I'll get any.
So
Right.
same as last time, we'll try to have people on mute. So pay attention to your mic if you want to ask a question. You can always put them in the chat, or raise your hand there, or raise your hand on the screen and I'll get to you. You know, if there's a lull in conversation, feel free to unmic yourself if you wanted to make a comment or question. But one of the things that I was going to say, and thanks for coming on back for the second part. You guys mentioned that you really wanted to have more, so I was very excited. And Tim has been very gracious in coming back and spending more time with us, so thank you for that. So should we start with some of the questions you received and see if anyone has any other questions before we go on? Or do you want to do the rest of the prayer first, or how do you want to go? What order do you want to do it in, Tim?
Well, how about, is there anybody new? There's some new people today, right? Oh my God.
I don't think so. I think everyone was here last time. Oh, Jeff, you're new?
Yep.
We watched it though an hour ago.
You watched the first one. Okay. So, so they watched the first half an hour ago. So they might have questions for you.
Okay.
And then we have those other ones.
All right. Well, just let me review for a moment.
I do have a quick question before you start. Do you mind taking one?
Sure.
Tim, you talked about, in an answer to a question about, call it God's gender. And you talked about there's the essence of both male and female within us.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if we could look beyond that and stay away from the conventional label.
Yep.
And say God is beyond gender, rather than there's all kinds of various labels of gender that are within us. Because if some people, like I have a niece who has been struggling with her gender identity, so she doesn't know what she is. So if we say you've got both male and female in you, then a person like that is wondering, well, maybe I can't relate to God or something. But what's your take on, just as humans, acknowledging that God in his sort of spiritual vibrating state of energy or whatever doesn't need a gender because God is beyond that?
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Yes, God is beyond gender. The thing, what we as humans experience as male or female are just explorations of different aspects of that one energy. We label it as male or female. It's just a way for humans to understand it, I think. But we are a combination of both. And the soul in its ultimate essence is really genderless. It's beyond gender. It's just spirit. So when someone is exploring their sexual orientation, for example, they are in the process of experiencing different aspects of the divine, exploring different realms of it. If I need to, anyway, I don't know if that makes any helpful at all, but it's important that we don't get hung up on male or female. Yeah.
I agree.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So what I was saying last time was that Jesus is really all about bringing us to a place of living from a different place. In this human life, we experience a small, separate, fearful, self, which is a false self, but it's part of the human experience. And he's wanting us to get past that, to shed that and return to truth, return to our essence of our inherent oneness with the divine and the essence of our true self, which is divine, which is love, which is light, which is peace, which is kindness, which is compassion. That's our natural state of being. The reason it feels so bad when we're not in those places is because we're not in those places. It just naturally feels bad. It feels wrong when we are fearful or when we are judgmental or when we're separating or when we're angry. It just does not feel right. And there's a reason for that, because what feels right to us, and you know this, is love. So right away, he brings us back to the nature of all reality in the first petition. Abu and Washmaya, O birther, father, and mother who is everywhere, you birth all things in unity, you're one light, breath, and vibration within all you've given life. And as I said last time, I don't think this prayer was intended to be a prayer per se that we rattle off. He is teaching us things here, teaching us things to focus on. So for example, when you see that first petition with its meaning, spend time in silence with it. Spend time listening to it. Spend time letting it work on you. Spend time allowing it to recenter you, to bring you home to truth. If we don't take time to let it work on us and to do our work in this prayer, it won't be changed. And everything I talked about last Sunday, if this is just a bunch of information, if it's just more religious information, it doesn't change anything. Jesus was about transformation and not information. There is a place for information, but information serves our inner transformation. And the only way the inner transformation is going to happen is if we surrender, if we let go of that small, fearful self and return home. So then he leads us to Netkata Shmak, we clear holy space around your name within. So important. This prayer is really about internal work, internal spiritual practice that we return to constantly. If we're not willing to do the work, nothing changes. And we clear away that which is covering up our true self, our essence, from our consciousness, from our awareness, which is usually fear, some kind of fear, anxiety, worry, anger is rooted in fear, all sorts of things like that. It's all fear-based. And as I tried to say last time, one of the most effective ways we can clear out is to become the observer of what's going on inside of us. When you sit down to be quiet, all kinds of stuff comes up. You will notice your mind just racing like crazy and all of these thoughts coming. Buddhists call it monkey mind, just jumping from tree to tree. If you can learn to take the position of being the observer, where you are going, oh, there's a thought about Sally. There's a thought about COVID. There's a thought about money. There's a thought about, will I get sick? There's a feeling, there's a fear. Oh, that's fear. But if you do it from the position of being an observer, you will notice a couple things. First of all, you are not those things you are observing. You are the observer. Those are things your observer is experiencing. And you will notice, secondly, that the observer is not those things. The observer is not full of fear. I had a man come into my office some years ago. I preached a sermon on how I was struggling with depression at the time. And that brought a lot of people into my office who said, can I talk to you? Me too, or my brother, I don't know what to do. So I said, well, let's just be quiet and observe your depression. Observe your thoughts, observe your feelings about it, so you can distance yourself a bit from it. And I asked him, and now if you can get into the place of the observer, how is the observer feeling? What's the state of being of the observer? And it took him some time to get there, but he began to realize the observer is not depressed. The observer is okay. The observer has a sense of peace about it, about him. So that's a whole nother thing. If you want to talk more about that, if you're working with some stuff, personal stuff, I'm happy to email me back and forth about that. But we need to clear, this spiritual enlightening, spiritual awakening is all about uncovering what's already there. It's more about unlearning than it is learning. Unlearning all the things that we've been conditioned with, we've been taught with. And I'm sorry to say, but it's unlearning some of the things the church has taught us over the years and for 2,000 years about our sinfulness, our sinful nature, that we are by nature sinful. We bought into that, for those of us older people, we had that pounded into us so much that we believe it, that we cannot believe that we are both human and divine, that there is divinity within me. It's a lot of unlearning going on and uncovering of what's already there. And I find that really good news, because we don't have to create anything new. We don't have to be fixed. Nothing has to happen to us. We just uncover what's already there within us. And then through that work, our vibration begins to raise up into one of love and oneness with God. And through that, the kingdom happens through us. This place, this beautiful place, Jesus talked all the time about the kingdom, this place of love and peace and patience and kindness and all of that. Grow through us this moment's bread and insight. I mentioned that bread is not only just what we eat or the physical things. Luther listed all the physical things in his small catechism, but there's also insight. Grow through us this moment's insight. What is this moment teaching me right now? And the fact that we are all in earth school right now, this is one giant classroom for the soul. Everything comes to us as experience. The soul is here to have experiences. They are neither good nor bad, right nor wrong. They just are what they are. And everything comes to us as teacher. What is this experience teaching me? A lot of us pray for things to be taken away from us. I don't want this experience. Take it away from me. Paul in the New Testament talks about a thorn in his flesh. And nobody knows what that really is, a lot of speculation, but he says 3 times I asked the Lord to take it away, but the Lord did not take it away. As if to say, no, Paul, you need to live with this for a while yet. You need to take in its lessons. You need to take in its teachings. You need to be changed by this. You haven't yet gone there. And when it's time, it will leave you. So this whole business of Earth School has become so important to me because as I said last week, I don't resist life as much as I used to. I'm still working on it. But if I buy into the fact that my soul is ultimately here to experience, to grow, to mature into more and more of what it already is, which is love and light, I notice for myself, I'm less likely to resist the experience, but to take it in, feel it, experience it as it is, honestly and authentically, all the while asking in the back of my mind, listening to it, and what's in this for me. Now, we get to forgiveness. The part where we say, forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. Wash buklan in Aramaic, forgive, means to return to the original state. And the translation means loose the cords of mistakes binding us as we release the strands we hold of others' guilt. Again, as we learn from the essence of all of life, everything is energy proceeding from the one energy flowing out and entering into the world of form. These are all souls. Everything is a flow of energy, a flow of divine energy. Jesus is teaching us, and he's teaching us to get back into the flow. So there is this flow of energy. You and I have a relationship. There is a flow of energy between us. And we know this, we can pick it up. As I mentioned last week, we talk about somebody's vibe. You are picking things up from me, even on the computer. A sense of my being. There is a flow of energy. Now, when we do not forgive someone, when they have wronged us, and we wrong each other and ourselves, when we're wronged, and we hold on to that, and we don't let that go, don't forgive it, we are literally bound. The cords of energy between us are bound, they're twisted, they're held tight, so there cannot be a flow of love between us. The flow is cut off, literally. The energy flow is cut off. So when I forgive you, when I let go of my hold on that, loosen my hold on my anger, my hurt, the flow is once again allowed to happen again between us, and our energy, our relationship is restored. We are brought back to our original state. Our original state of our relationships is always love and oneness. And of course, when we forgive someone, we don't do it for them, we do it for ourselves, and you've heard that. You know, not forgiving someone is like, as they say, you know, drinking poison and expecting the other person to die from it. We're the ones affected by the poison. So we're doing ourselves a favor by letting go of this binding and one of the ways we can practice this is to go within our anger, our resentment, and practice and noticing the hold we have on it, how tightly we're holding on to it and how tight it is, and practice releasing it. Imagine hands around your resentment, your anger, and practice, visualize allowing yourself to just let go of your hold on it. Release, release, and let it go. And if we practice this, the flow, you'll notice the flow restoring. One of the great ways to do this is to pray for the person who has wronged us. So that's what forgiveness is. It's restoring the flow. It's a very real thing. It's not just a concept. We pray in the traditional Lord's Prayer, lead us not into temptation. And I've got a question mark on the handout after lead us. That's because lead us is actually a poor translation. A much better translation of the Aramaic and even the Greek is let us not enter into temptation.
I think that's the version that we use from 1975. Yeah. Yeah. Not the lead us, but.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Save us from the time of trial, I think.
Yeah. It's what we use.
Save us from the time of trial. Yeah. I remember as a kid, I have to ask God not to tempt me. This doesn't make any sense. But in Aramaic, the translation reads something like, do not let the surface things of this life take us away from our purpose. And we all know about how the surface things of this life distract us. But keep us present to help needed now. All the great spiritual teachers, Jesus, Buddha, all of them, all down through history, always talked about the importance of being present and being present in the moment. One of my favorite quotes of Eckhart Tolle is, focus only on this moment and tell me what problems you have. I love that. You will notice that if you're coming up with problems, they're all projections of what might happen in the future. But in this moment, tell me what problems you will have. We'll quickly discover that in this moment, I actually have everything I need. There is nothing I lack. That's where we're trying to be. He's trying to lead us to.
So Jesus seems to say that often to his disciples, why are you worrying? Why are you fretting? What are your, yep. And I hadn't really thought of that in that term, but that's probably really the essence of what he was getting at is, why are you constantly fretting about everything?
Yeah.
Be with me now.
Exactly. Yeah, and now is all we have. There is no past, and the future does not exist. It's just thoughts in our head. It's things that we imagine. It's not real. The only thing that's real is right now, this moment, right now. And
Martha versus Mary comes to mind as well.
Yes, Exactly. It's a perfect story of that. Martha, Martha, Martha. Sit
Man,
down.
I feel she gets a bad rap, Tim.
Yeah. Trying to be a good host, and yeah.
That's exactly what I think, Penny. I've always said that. Martha gets a bad rap.
So how can you be a Martha and a Mary at the same time? Is that possible?
I think it is. We can be a Martha and be very present in what we're doing. When you do simple tasks around the house, be there 100%. Wash the dish with 100% presence. Eat the cookie with 100% presence. Vacuum with 100% presence.
Looks like Sharon has a question.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Pastor Chris talked about in her prayer just a couple of nights ago, about the holiness of everything we do, folding laundry, that all those tasks are holiness, and puts a new light on, and it makes you focus on that task.
Yeah. Thank you. And how important is that right now? You know, to free ourselves from all our projections of COVID and everything we're facing right now, but to be present, eating a banana, to peel the banana with presence. So we can be. It's not just sitting and doing nothing. Somebody has to do something. But to do it with presence. And I notice it says, keep us present to help needed now. Now we all know almost every moment is offering us opportunity to help another person. And the most freeing and healing thing we can do for ourselves is to let go of our obsession with ourselves and to simply do something for somebody else. We all know what that does for us. It's so energizing, it's so freeing, and you can literally feel the healing going on inside of yourself when you do something simple for someone else. So being present is what he's talking about. And then finally, the kingdom, the power, and the glory. With our vibration raised through love, you raise up every peaceful intuition. Now here's a important teaching. It's one that we do not, I believe the church has failed our people in telling them to trust their own intuition, their own inner knowing, to honor it, to respect it, to value it. When you do the work of this prayer, you begin to notice things starting to awaken within you, impulses, stirrings. Trust those. If it is of God, it'll feel peaceful. If it is not peaceful, if there's still anxiety about it, it's probably more your ego than God. Because your ego is still fretting about something. But when something comes, you know, we talk about things like, I just knew to call her. I just knew to go over there or not to go there. We all know this. And we just had this peaceful feeling, I should do this, I should call, whatever. And we all know the outcome of those kinds of things. There turned out to be a reason why. I used to preach on intuition a lot, and I always said that just is a code word for God. So when we say I just knew, we're really saying I God knew. That is your GPS, your inner guidance system. Trust it. It has served me so well these last 9 years. It's just absolutely amazing. And it's just kind of magical. And it works for the tiniest details of life. It cares about the details. It's amazing. But your intuition is what's in tune with the flow, in tune with the flow of the divine energy in the world. It knows where to go, where not to go. It knows what's happening. It can sense. So one of the things I didn't mention last time was, remember the story I talked about in John 10, where they're giving Jesus a hard time for saying the Father and I are one?
Mm-hmm.
And they're accusing him of blasphemy. And he says, in effect, why are you giving me such a hard time when your own scriptures say you are God's? And he quotes Psalm 82. He seems to be quoting Psalm 82 because that's what it says. You will probably never hear a sermon preached on that story, because that story is not in the 3-year lectionary that we all subscribe to. The lectionary quits right before it and picks up right after it. And I distinctly remember the day I went through the lectionary every Sunday, all 3 years. I went through it 4 times just to make sure I had that right. But I find that really telling. The church has historically not touched that. We're so afraid of lifting up our inherent oneness with the divine, of our own, of divinity within us. We're just afraid of going there. I have some theories on why the church has always done this. I think it's all about control. But I just think that says a lot. And we really need to take a look at what we're telling our people, what we're telling each other, that we're lifting that up for ourselves, we're encouraging that. Because there is nothing out there that will encourage that.
So doesn't the discussion about all being part of the same body speak to that, or is that, do you look at that differently?
It kind of does, but we never get to what that really means in its essence. I think we're all, we kind of stop at, we're all created by the same God. But it doesn't get down to the nature of God within us. I don't think. You know, when I started talking about all of this, well, I spent my last 6 years as a pastor talking about these things, and the pushback I got was people just couldn't accept the fact of their divinity. Just really? But the more comfortable they got with it, the more they got to realize, yeah, that feels right to me now. That feels like home. I'm getting more comfortable with that. And I'm not afraid to say, I am love in my essence. I am peace. I am joy. There's a reason I love to laugh so much. Because my essence is joy. It's not sadness. Yeah, so it was quite a ride those last 6 years. One of the questions Deb sent me was how that affected my life as a pastor. Speaking about these things, first of all, I noticed I wanted to talk about things that I hadn't ever talked about, I hadn't heard talked about in the church. No one told me. So there was that section of the crowd that was intrigued by this. It was something new. It was something fresh. It was a new angle, I thought of it as, but it's really as old can be. It's just getting back to the nature of reality, to the beginning of the beginning. You can't get any older than the things I'm talking about here. It's the ultimate nature of reality that's always been there. But another group that really wasn't that interested, and then another group that gave me pushback because it wasn't the traditional stuff. But anyway, stop there. Questions, comments?
John Fogelberg. Go ahead, unmute yourself.
Okay. My question is the prayer between you and God, and where does the Holy Spirit fit into the picture?
Mm-hmm. Again, it's all one. The prayer is between you and God, but the Spirit is really the energy between you and God, connecting you and God, awakening things within you as you allow this prayer to do its work on you. It's helpful for me to think of Spirit as energy, and not something separate from God or separate from me. That it is a real it's a real thing. I don't know if that helps at all, but the Spirit is what happens. The Spirit is the awakening. The Spirit is the expanding. The Spirit is the energy of the growth. Yeah, that's what Spirit is.
So then the prayer is from you to the Spirit to God?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all one. It's the same thing. I think we tend to make this more, ego wants to make it more complicated than it really is. And we like complicated. Our egos do. I think we all need to come up with a name for God. We can all call God, God, of course. But if there is a name that works for you, and you'll notice that you'll feel it inside of you, what works. When I talk to God, I address the great love. I say, oh, great love. But that's just me. It could be, oh, mother. If you're a woman, that may help you connect. It could be whatever. One of the things religions do is they get very hung up on proper names. And names are just human words. They're just sounds. They limit God. God actually cannot be, God is beyond name. I don't know if you're familiar with the Tao at all, that the Tao says that the Tao, or the God that can be named, is not the Tao. Once we start naming something, then we define it, we think we control it, we think we got it. But to me, great love just keeps everything open for me.
Christy.
You brought up something that I have done in the past, and I think I'm going to adopt it for the future as well, or for the current. I always used to visualize when I had worries and couldn't get to sleep, that I would put my worries in a box, tie it with a bow, and put it up in the closet. And it worked amazingly well. So now I'm so angry and anxious. I'm going to start a couple more boxes with bows in the closet, because that's not helping my anything.
Yep.
So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I need a big box right now.
Yep.
Yeah, I am so, excuse me, but I'm just so damn angry right now. I have so much anger about how this whole COVID thing is being handled. Not handled. That's a whole other thing, but we, this mess we're in doesn't have to be what it is. But so, yeah, I've experienced anger like I haven't for a long, long time. And I have to work. I have to do my work with that. Otherwise it consumes me. And yeah, thank you for mentioning that. I'm going to try the box thing. Yeah, I like that too. Yeah. But
I think we might need a refrigerator size box.
You can get one, Christy. Joni.
Yes, I'm glad you brought this up, Christy, because as I listened to the wonderful talk this morning, I'm just so grateful. It just fills me with joy and hope. And you reiterated so much of what I struggle with in terms of forgiveness and anger and taking time to be quiet. And I practiced Tai Chi for 15 years and I work on that daily.
Right.
But it's still a response that I have, as you brought up, into Christy, about what's going on. So this calmness that we seek just evaporates when I start listening to the disparaging remarks people make about Joe Biden, for example, and others. It's hard for me not to be angry at these people, and it's hard to be forgiving. Very difficult. And it's right in our own church, unfortunately. And when you speak about not naming God, when Pastor Chris named God as mother a few months ago, she had a backlash. So she stopped doing that now. Okay. So we deal with it in our own congregation, and we have to keep hoping and working toward it. But people like you that come forward and remind us and have that courage is what we need. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It's helpful for me getting back to this Earth School thing. I think COVID has revealed to us the different levels of maturity of souls here right now. You have some souls responding to this COVID thing with tremendous maturity, tremendous love, tremendous compassion, healthcare workers and so on. You're hearing stories about people choosing to be infected with the virus so they can speed along the vaccine. That's incredible, people like that. But you also have a lot of people very obsessed with themselves and very fearful and very wanting to ignore it. So we have souls all around us that are of different maturity levels. And they are here just like me to learn and to grow and mature. So it helps me to think about that, and I need to cut them some slack, that they're here just like me to learn. And they're at a different place than I am, and that's okay. But to understand that that is not the real them, that there is more to them than those opinions that they're throwing out there. They just can't see it yet.
So there's a question here, Tim. If forgiveness is a return to the original state of love and oneness, how is that possible for those who have been abused by a loved one? For victims, there is no going back.
Right. Yeah, good question. That's so deep. Yeah, there was one particular woman in my ministry. I spent more time with her than anyone else in my 35 years. She was severely sexually abused as a child, just horrendous. And I got to walk with her through that journey where she finally was willing to let little pieces of it out at a time. She would have flashbacks. And I went with her to her therapy sessions. And the therapist described her flashbacks as what she is now ready to deal with. She would only get little snippets of things that had happened. But the flashbacks were telling her she's now ready to deal with this, to face it. And as I walked with her through this journey, you are forever changed. You are never, ever the same, of course. But as she began to address her pain, I saw her very, very slowly evolve and find herself. She was stuck as a 4-year-old little girl when I met her when she was 55. She was stuck there. She wasn't allowed to progress past that. She began to discover there's more to her than what happened to her. There was a whole nother person here to get to know and explore, but I would never, whatever it was that she was feeling, feel it. If you're angry, be angry. You have every right to be. When I would meet with abusive women who were abused in marriages, and a couple of men too, I got more directive towards the end, and I would tell them, you got to get out of there. You don't deserve to be treated like this. And so on, but there is a pain there that never leaves you. There is a change that never leaves you. But even there, there is meaning, there is purpose, but the person has to get there themselves. And it is so hard. Oh my gosh. I just admired this woman so much for her courage and her honesty. And she'd take one step forward and 3 back and all of that. But for literally 15 years, I walked with her through that. But she is in a better place now. She's definitely in a better place.
So that return to oneness and the forgiveness idea, I guess one of the things I'm thinking of is coming to the realization that you are beloved.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I find that a very hard thing.
Yeah.
And that's usually what gets me in a lot of depressive trouble.
Okay.
You know, I know it here, but to get it here is another story.
Yep.
And that to me is kind of what that forgiveness piece is. When you're talking about it, is getting back to the normal state, is to get out of this part that causes the trouble and get into the true sense of I'm beloved.
Exactly. And in the word beloved are the words be loved.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever sat with God in quiet, in silence, and just allow yourself to be loved? You will notice all kinds of resistance coming up in you. Wait a minute, I don't deserve that. Or what about me? What about this? What about that part of me? Don't you know about this? But allow yourself to just be loved, and try and let go of your resistance of that. And all these parts of you that are unlovable start coming up, and you still work on yourself being loved there. It's an amazing experience.
Joni, did you have a question? Or John? Or Joe?
Yeah, no, it's more of a comment. I think part of the problem in the world is a dualism between the spiritual life and the secular life, which I trace back to science's reluctance to explore the spiritual. And for an example, when the scientists came up with the theory of the Big Bang, they sort of stated that, the makings of the universe were there in this little portion of space, and then it was a big bang or explosion or expansion. But imagine if they had said, in the beginning, there was a big flow of God's spiritual energy that created our universe. Imagine how that would change the outlook of science and all of us poor people that are grappling with this.
No, I love that, John. Thank you. Yeah. I love that. The beginning was the flow, and the Big Bang is a big flow. It's a shame what's happened with science and religion. I understand science to be human beings coming to understand how the divine expresses itself in the world of form. That's all it is. There's no contradiction. They're the same thing. It's just understanding the divine expressing itself in form. And you talked about dualism. That's so important to understand with this life, that we live in a dualistic world. We live in a world of light and dark, of joy and happiness. We can only know one without the other. One of the helpful things to me is to return to the atom, ATOM, the basic building block of all existence in this realm. An atom is contained as both a proton and electron, positive charge, an electron, a negative charge. They both feed off of each other. They both are necessary for anything to exist in this world, the positive and the negative together. So rather than resist the negative, learn to understand it's fundamental to life here. Learn to understand that it too has its place. I learned about contentment and joy through my depression. I learned about peace through my depression. It's just the way it works here for most of us. I learned about loving myself through that experience. Same thing with being diagnosed with cancer 7 years ago. And everything that brought me. As hard as it was, I learned so much from that experience. And I'm a different person.
Any other questions that people would have? Don't know if you want to address the one about, as Lutherans, we stress theology of grace, the one that Deb sent or not?
Yeah, that's good. I guess a short answer to that would be grace is central to Lutheran theology. And what Jesus was talking about is like grace on steroids. I mean, it just expands grace. There's no limit to grace. All of life is grace. All of it. What I just said. Every experience we have is grace. There's grace underneath, behind everything. You are grace at your nature. When I retired, I remember saying at my retirement, all I ever wanted to be was a safe place of grace for people. A place where they could come and be whatever they were, whoever they are, and know that they were loved and accepted. That's all I wanted to do. And that's really what we all need. Some safe place to go. So it's all about grace. Life is grace.
That sounds a lot like kingdom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All things work together for good, Paul says in Romans 8:28.
That raises the question, why not go directly to kingdom and bypass this earthly existence?
Yeah. I've often asked God that, why do we have to go through all this? Why can't we just start? But, I think the short answer to that is love. Love allows freedom. And we have to be given this freedom to explore and to make mistakes and create and learn and grow. And love never forces itself on us. It never forces itself on us. So we are here to come to these things on our own in a way, to claim it for ourselves, have it literally be a part of us. And there's only one way through, and that is through.
So does God grow through our growth?
I think so. God is not a static being. God is ever changing. God is growing in a way. God is exploring. God is creating. God loves to create and explore. Yeah, that's a whole weird concept to wrap your brain around, and I can't really, but I don't understand God to be a fixed being, that God is a living being. And I find great comfort in that, really.
I have another question, Penny.
Yeah, Joni.
I always think about the question, is God all powerful? And we discussed that some years ago under the leadership of a former pastor. And her point of view, she never tried to impose her beliefs on us, but she shared what she believed. And she was a process theologian, so she more or less conveyed the idea that God is not all powerful, that it's like a circle. God is in us and we send power and strength back to God through the good work that we do, and that it's a revolving thing. So do you have a thought on that, Pastor?
Well, sorry, I might repeat myself here, but again, love never forces itself. God is not all powerful. We are not puppets. We have tremendous freedom of choice. If we choose to do this, then these things happen. If we choose to do that, then those things happen. God, there's this tremendous honoring of our free will on the other side. It's incredible. It's an honoring of our free will. And we have to come to realizations on our own, through experiences. They're not dumped on us, not forced on us. Those are the only things that truly change us, and it truly becomes a part of us. If we were mere puppets on a string, we would never grow. And that's not love. We know that if we try to force our children to do something, that does not work. And even if they did what we wanted them to, it wouldn't be them. They would be doing it for us, and they're not going to grow. I have to allow my children to do what they're going to do and learn what they're going to learn, and know that I am here for them along the way. Yeah, very much like the parent-child relationship.
Well, I do want to honor everyone's time. It's 7 after 12. So thank you all very much for coming today. And Tim, thank you for coming back again at such short notice. Really appreciated that. And you're sharing your insights and for new things for us to learn and explore. If anyone else has any questions, you can stick around. Is that true, or do you have to get going? Or you can email Tim, or you can email him to me and I can make sure Tim gets them. I think everyone, I had sent the email address, but if you need it, let me know. Otherwise, have a wonderful day. It is snowing. It is Minnesota. So, so enjoy our beautiful world.
Goodbye, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Good to see faces.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Looks like there's a lot of thank yous also in the chat there, Tim.
I don't know how to get
And encouragement to carry on the good work
Okay.
that you're doing. So
Thank you.
thank you. And yeah, and I'll probably be in touch with you again and we can chat some more about maybe the Beatitudes or something.
Great.
All right. All right. Enjoy your day.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.